welcome in everyone. And I want to thank you for your, I want to thank you all for your patience. This is the first time I've used this particular version of Zoom. I'm Marci, and somebody give me a yes, hello, that you can hear me and you can see my screen and all that good stuff. Just like a little chat. Oh, thanks, Donna. Thanks, everybody. Okay, terrific. Good, good, good. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I want to let you all know that, as I said, this is the first time I'm using this particular version of Zoom, and I'm juggling a lot. So I'm probably not going to be able to answer too many questions until we get out to the end. But I think you guys can chat amongst yourselves. I'm not sure how that's all going to work out. Anyway, I just wanted to give you fair warning that I'm just one person here. So we're going to do what we do and jump right in. So let me, again, this is this new to me Zoom where the thing doesn't even show up in the bottom. All right, well, here we go. Welcome, everyone. I'm Marci Mearns, and I'm really happy to have you here with me this afternoon, evening here in California to take a look at the RadarOpus program. And what I am intending to do is walk you through some basics. You will come out of this class, hopefully, with a few questions answered. And you may also have a few questions. To that end, I'll be putting this screen up again at the end of our session today, and I'll also paste this information in the notes so you'll know how to research, get some more information, and how to find me if that's of any interest to you. Okay, so without further ado, let's make that go away. Let's make that go away. My goodness. Oh, okay. It looks like I'm going to have to do something again. Okay, so sorry. All right, Zoom, you have my permission. Terrific. Wonderful. Okay. Welcome in, everyone. I've got my RadarOpus program here, and I've got the welcome or the start screen that usually shows up the first time you open up your RadarOpus program. Now, the first thing I want to do for you here is I'm going to give you a couple of what I think are really essential tips for utilizing your program. The first one is I suggest that you enable a right click on your mouse or on your trackpad if you have not done so. Throughout the program today, I'm going to refer several times to a right click, which would mean on the right-hand side of your mouse or often on the right side of your trackpad. It's going to come in extremely handy to you to have a mouse connected, or if you don't have a mouse, to at least be able to do a right and a left click. Left is a normal click on your mouse. Makes your use of your program just ever so much better. The second suggestion I have for you, not quite as critical, but if you are able to enable what we call the function keys on your keyboard, pardon me, they're also called the F keys, and you find those up across the top of your keyboard. You can look this up later, but the F keys or the function keys provide shortcuts that are often used when we are using shortcuts in the program. So if you can get your right click on your mouse going, if you get your function keys enabled, don't worry about doing it right now, but just make a note, and you may find that that's extremely helpful as we go forward. Okay, so somebody's chatting me. I just want to make sure. Are we good? Yeah, I'm on the Mac laptop. So again, you can research these things on your own. You can also reach out to me for a quick check-in after today's session if you have a question. Okay. Now it says participants can now see your screen. I hope you've been seeing it all this time, but if not, at least we can see it now. Okay, so here's my basic RadarOpus program. And where I like to start our orientation tell you one more thing. There's a lot here that we are not going to use, okay? I like to make it really simple and give you the foundation so you won't get lost. What we are going to take a look at, our starting point is going to be up here in the upper left-hand corner on this large icon bar, I call it. And we're going to focus today on 3 of these big icons: the repertories, the references, and the remedies icon. Okay, this is where we're going to place our focus. And the first thing we're going to do out of the big icons is I'm going to make a regular mouse click. Whenever I say click, I mean a left click for repertories. And you'll see immediately that a window opens up here on the left side of the screen. And this is what we call the table of contents for the program. Now, in this case, if you think about your RadarOpus program as a library with, let's say, 3 floors, okay? The first floor is where all of our repertories are going to be housed. I most often, and I'm sure most of you as well, use my Synthesis Treasure Edition. You'll see I'm mousing down to almost to the very bottom of that table of contents. You'll see it says Schroyens F Synthesis. When I click on that name of the repertory, you'll notice that, there we go, voila. In what I call the desktop or the reading area of the program, my repertory opens to the very first page, to the very first rubric in that repertory. Okay? If I wanted to take a look at Boraki's repertory, for example, you'll notice that's the 3rd one on my list of repertories here. Again, I'm just in the repertories section of my library. When I click on the title of the repertory in the desktop or the repertory window, Boraki's repertory opens to the very first rubric. Now, how do I know I'm in Boraki? Right up here in the upper left-hand corner of this blue tab, it gives me the name of my repertory. Okay? If I want to go back to Schroyens, I can simply go over to the table of contents, click on the title again, back to the Treasure Edition, and you'll notice that in the blue tab here at the top, the name of the repertory comes up. Now, I've also got a shortcut here, and these are important, these little toggle shutter triangles. See, there's a little gray triangle here. Whenever you see one of those, usually if you'll click on it, you're going to get a list of some sort or something's going to open. In this case, what's opened up for me is a list of repertories that I was using previously. And I'm able to go back to Boraki just by clicking that link. See what I'm doing here? So I can toggle back and forth between any repertory that I've already opened up or among repertories that I may have opened up. Okay, so we started again with the big icon on the left, which is the repertories icon, opens my table of contents window. And when I click on the title of any one of the repertories here, the name, if you will, of the repertory, that book is actually, it says, though I pulled the book down off the shelf and opened it up to the very first page. Okay, so I'm going to use my little shortcut and go back to my synthesis. And let's look at a couple of other kind of cool things here. There was one of the triangles. Remember that we used that for our shortcut to finding repertories. If you'll take your attention over to the table of contents window here on the left, you'll see here at the top, there's the word repertories. And actually repertories has got a little triangle next to it, doesn't it? And that triangle is pointing down, indicating that basically the blinds are open. So if I click that triangle again, you'll notice that that closes up. That whole list of repertories closes up. And below it, it shows me that in my particular version of the program, I also have some other tools, shall we call them, called concepts, and I have some other tools called families of remedies. Most of this you don't really need to pay a lot of attention to. Again, just the idea is, notice that you can toggle those triangles. Now, something that people do like to see, let's take a look at Boraki, and you'll notice that the title of the book here also has a triangle in front. If I click the triangle, voila, what opens up in this case is actually a pictorial representation of the chapters in the repertory. Now you can imagine that if I go ahead and click on the eye icon here, what do you think is going to happen? Yeah, my Boricki's repertory here immediately opened to the I chapter. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and just close that up. I'm showing you this because I want to bring to your attention the idea that wherever you see one of these triangles, more than likely you can flip it and you may find some information that you didn't know was there. There's one person that keeps raising their hand. I'm going to go ahead and just have a quick check if you don't mind, and let's make sure no gray triangle on yours. Well, don't know what to tell you. I'm sorry you don't have the gray triangle. Bear in mind one thing here is that I have a fairly, I won't say advanced because I believe the program is pretty much the same, but I've got a lot of books and a lot of tools that perhaps you don't have. So if you have any questions about specifics with your program, certainly you're welcome to take those up with either the salespeople, the tech people. Yeah. And certainly if you don't have something, it doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with your program. You maybe just don't have the Deluxo version like I do. Okay. So where are we? Oh, I've got my table of contents over here. And notice again, as I said, starting from the upper left-hand corner, the repertories icon, these are all the repertories that I have in my particular library. When I click on the name of the repertory, it opens up in the desktop. Now, what do I want to show you here? You know what? Let's just jump right into the next floor of our library by going to the second icon here, which would be references. Now, what happened when I opened up references? Let me close that. There we go. What I've got here now is a list of all the Materia Medica books that I have in my RadarOpus program. So it's like I'm on a different floor of the library, and I'm just going to pick here randomly Boricki's Pocket Manual of Homeopathic Materia Medica. When I click on Boricki's manual, just what we expected to happen. The flow of information in the program is always going to be from the left here to the right. So when I click on the title of a book, that book opens up in the desktop or the reading area. Now, what's different here? Notice that the little icon, this tab is actually different than the repertory one. You see that there's a little icon here that matches the icon in the upper left-hand corner for references. So this is a reference window, and the tab is showing me that I'm indeed looking at Boricki's Pocket Manual of Homeopathic Materia Medica. Okay, and I've opened just as though I took the book down off the shelf and opened it up to the very first page. If I wanted for some reason now to go back to my repertory, I don't have to go through many more steps other than simply to take my mouse, and you'll notice just to the left of the Materia Medica tab, my repertories tab is here. And when I click on the repertories tab with its bright blue book, now I'm again looking at my Synthesis Treasure Edition. Okay, if I want to flip back, and I've got two books now essentially out on the desktop, and I want to go ahead and look at my Materia Medica, I can just click over by clicking on the tab. That turns light blue and comes forward in the program. Okay. It looks like you guys are helping one another out through the chat. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. Okay, so what I'm trying to establish for you here is a basic flow in a way that you won't get lost. If all else fails and you think, oh my gosh, how do I get back to a basic repertory? Big icon at the left, click repertories. Table of contents opens, go down to Schroyen Synthesis, click on the title, repertory opens. Okay, I want to look at one of my Materia Medica reference books. Let's say, for example, now you'll notice I've got my table of contents open here to Materia Medica. What if I want to look for example, Vermeulen? And I could scroll. You see here, there's a little scroll thingy that's going to let me scroll down in my various types of Materia Medica. But I've got, oh golly, it says I have over 1,000 volumes here. That's not really very convenient, is it? But if I can go to just the top of this content window here and begin typing VERM. Now all of a sudden, what's in this window has been limited to my collection of Vermeulen Materia Medica books. And if I want to look at something called Vista Vintage, I can just click on Vista Vintage, and or let's say something perhaps people are more likely to have in their library. Synoptic, is this Synoptic 1? Synoptic 2. There's 1. Kind of basic, right? Click on Vermeulen Synoptic Materia Medica 1, and it opens just basically to the very first page. Now, while we're here, what can we do with our little triangle? I'm going to open it up, and I've got actually an alphabetical listing here of the remedies in this book. This is not a function that you use a whole lot, but let's say I just want to have a quick look at Apis in Vermeulen Synoptic. I can now click on the name of the remedy, Apis mellifica, and you'll notice that in my reading area, it's right there. So this is just as though you had the book on your library shelf, you pulled it down and you flipped it open. So you pulled it down by limiting your references to Vermeulen. You go to the one you want, which was the Materia Medica Synoptic 1. And I flip open my little triangle and I can go straight to the remedy. Okay. It's kind of stuff you won't get lost. That's the idea. Okay. So I just want, give myself a time check. I can look right there. I think we're rocking and rolling here, honestly. Let's take a look at the third icon that we're going to be focusing on today. So the first one, again, was our repertories, and it gives us in this table of contents window a list of all of the repertories in our collection. References will be all of our Materia Medica. And finally, the other one that I like to use is remedies. Okay, now let us do what it says. Here I've got a list of a database of remedies. Now, one thing I want to say to you is that there are remedies listed in the remedy database that perhaps have little or no information within the program. In other words, the remedies database extends beyond the contents of the program itself. So you may find remedies in here, and when you click for more information, it's a dead end. Those are, shall we call them, placeholders for the future. And unfortunately, then sometimes it'll send you having to look for information in other places. Okay, so now again, instead of trying to scroll all the way down through the alphabet here, this is where this little window at the top becomes really handy. And I thought we might do a lookup today on a remedy called Grindelia. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start typing G-R-I-N. Now you'll notice right away, even though I've got nearly the complete abbreviation for Grindelia, I've got a whole bunch of remedies listed here. And we might wonder, well, why is Falcon in here? Because it has the letters G-R-I-N. All right, so you got to be smarter than the program here. I know the one I want. Here's another problem. Here's Grindelia robusta, the abbreviation being G-R-I-N. Here's a different Grindelia, and here's another Grindelia. Actually, there are 4 different listings for Grindelia. The smart homeopath recognizes the abbreviation. Before I do Grindelia, I'm going to back up and show you a more difficult or trying example. Let's look for pulsatilla, P-U-L-S. Okay, now, some of us don't know which one of these we should click on, right? Here's my hint. Look for the abbreviation that you know and love, P-U-L-S. It's going to be this one. It's not Pulsatilla montana. It's not Nudolina. It's this one, okay? It's the one you know and love. Here's another example. If you want to look for arsenicum, arse. Look at all the arsenicums we have here. You've got to recognize some basic abbreviations. That's the one I want, you see? Okay, hopefully that helps. But let's go back to our Grindelia for just a moment, because actually there's a method to my madness here. This stuff grows all here in Northern California at this time of year. It's really good to dislodge some of that really sticky gunk in the lungs. It's also You can use it as a skin wash when you have itchy poison oak. So I knew this plant before I knew anything about homeopathy. Okay, so I've got the name of the remedy here. I've clicked on it, and just as we would expect, over here in the desktop or the reading area, a new window has opened up. You see there's a tab here. It's on the right. It's pale blue, which we've become accustomed to seeing, and it's got the name of the remedy here. Okay, so what earthly good is this? Well, let's take a look down here. You can see where I'm waving my mouse back and forth. I've got additional tabs. I've got one called Keynotes. And something I just discovered today is the program's got a little prompt here. It says, please choose your default Keynotes document. Well, I normally use Keynotes Radar. Some of you may or may not have options here, but apparently I have some options for which Keynote book I want to use. I frankly don't use this very much anyway, so I don't know it really matters. But you have a Keynotes tab. Some remedies will have more or less information here. The family's information is very interesting. Again, these are tabs that all are going to give us information about our remedy. Now, what do you see here? A triangle next to kingdoms, families. If I open the triangle, it gives me 3 different plant classification systems. And for example, this one I will usually look at Cronquist system. It tells me that my Grindelia is in the Compositae family. And look at this. If I click on Compositae, again, to the right, opens up more information. All remedies that belong to this family are listed here. Okay. So you may or may not find this useful information. If you have Vermeulen's passport included, you'll have some information from him, and you may even find that you've got a picture. Okay. The really cool thing about looking up a remedy in this way is because it allows us to do a very simple search. Okay. This is cool information, but what I really want to do is I want to dig out all the information that is available in my RadarOpus program for the remedy Grindelia robusta. So right from this window, right from this tab, shall we say, in the upper left-hand corner of my tab, you see I've got my little magnifying glass. That's a symbol for searching. And the words search for this remedy in, and I'm going to tell my program, search for this remedy in all documents. Okay. And I didn't even have to launch the search. Sometimes you have to click this to launch the search, but look what's happened. My search is here. And now what happened to my table of contents over here on the left? It's now turned into a search results window, starting with each and every repertory that I have with a listing for Grindelia. If I want to take a look at Boriki's repertory and find every rubric where that remedy appears, again, following our flow of information, I just click Boriki's repertory, the title, and here I've got a listing of every rubric in Boriki's repertory that contains that remedy. Okay, I can go down, for example, this is called an extraction, and here I have a remedy extraction from the synthesis repertory for the remedy Grindelia robusta. Okay, now are we rocking and rolling here? Everybody's hanging in there, I'm assuming. I don't see a ton of hands. Let's talk about hyperlinks and linking and jumping around for just a minute. You may find you have to watch. We are recording this thing. You may want to watch it again if I'm going too quickly. Let's talk about hyperlinking for just a minute. Fear of the dark. Mind, fear, dark of. Here's Grindelia and 103 other remedies. Notice I clicked the little plus and it opened up the whole picture of that rubric here. But what if I want to see it in the repertory? Guess what? All I have to do is point to the text of the rubric, double click, and what happened? I've now opened my Synthesis Treasure Edition to that very rubric, Mind, Fear of the Dark. And indeed, there's my Grindelia along with 103 other remedies. Okay. let's go back to the results of search. Now, oh, what, huh? Look, I've got so many tabs here, I'm likely to get confused. Let's go back to the search tab. That's where we did our search. These are the results. And there we go. Do you have Jeremy Scher's remedy of mental qualities? If so, we could look at the mental qualities, if you will, for the remedy Grindelia. Again, this is a simple way to do an extraction. Now, I can also scroll further down, and the results of my search also include all of these materia medica. So FATAC is a wonderful materia medica. If you know anything about that little pocket materia medica. I hope my cat is not being too terribly distracting. She's distracting me. Here's my Grindelia robusta in FATAC. You'll notice I clicked on FATAC's materia medica. The information for Grindelia opens up again, in the results of search over here, and I can read through those details broken down line by line. You'll notice it's broken down line by line. If I want to go to the actual book, I can double click on any one of these lines and it'll actually open up FATAC's Materia Medica of Homeopathic Medicine to the page for Grindelia robusta. Okay, so what did we just do? Wow, it's kind of a lot, isn't it? We started because we said, hey, let's look up a remedy and get some remedy information, okay? So I start up in the upper left-hand corner with my big icon for remedies. I went to the little search window here and typed in the abbreviation as close as I can get it for my remedy. I found the one I want. I click on it here and my remedy information window opens. This is the key right here, is the remedy information window. And then to do the search, I'm going to go to the search for this remedy in all documents. There are other settings. You could search just in the repertories, just in the references. But, you know, for the sake of today, I just do my search everywhere. And my table of contents now gives me repertory extractions, as well as references within the Materia Medica that are part of my library. Okay, what are we missing before we move to the next piece of the presentation? I know what we're missing. Let's do a little housekeeping here, a little tidying up. First thing I want to do is I want to show you how we've looked at these tabs up here at the top. So you'll notice I'm in the results of search tab. Here's our Materia Medica tab over here. We were looking at Grindelia in, what book is this? I think this is Boriki. We can go to our repertories tab. We can go to Welcome to RadarOpus. You know what? You see the X on the right-hand side. Whenever you want to get rid of one of these things, just X it out, okay? Do I want to open this next time? No, thanks. I've been welcomed more times than I care to count. Okay, so I've kind of cleaned things up a little bit. I've got how many? 4 tabs over here right now. That's pretty good. I could even close that search tab if I want. So I've just got my repertory, my Materia Medica, and my remedy tab where I searched for a remedy. Now, this thing over here on the left-hand side, say I'm in my repertory and I want to do something, I'd really like to just get rid of this table of contents. All the way down in the lower left-hand corner, hide the table of contents, it says. Et voila, it's gone. Okay, if I want to bring it back for some reason, I can click and bring it back. But I like to work with it out of the way when I've got my books that I'm going to be working with. I don't need that table of contents anymore. And certainly if I want to get it back, I can either show it from the lower left, or I can go click on the big button at the top. Okay. Hide the table of contents, though. That's what we want to do. So that's another little trick for you. And okay. I see where we want to be now. I'm just going to have a little glance here at the chat and see. Yeah. Well, we can. Okay. People are answering one another. I believe you will have access to the recording in some form or fashion. They'll probably send it around to you. I'm not going to go into too much detail on the searches at this particular time. I am going to show you some search methodologies going forward. But we're about 30 minutes in. What I'm hoping to do is take another 30 to 40 minutes of presentation time. And then after that, I'm going to open myself up for some questions and things. If you all will excuse me for 2 seconds, I have a cat here that is not taking no for an answer. So just excuse me 2 seconds. Thank you. Thank you. Sorry about that. Okay, so while we're in the repertory window, there are a couple of settings that you may or may not have available in your program. But if you do have them available, I recommend that you set them up for yourself, okay? So, you know, the universal settings icon is this little gear thing over on the far right. I'm working in my repertory window. I'm looking at the little gear setting. And I also want to show you that I've got some other funny looking little icons here. The first one is a pill bottle. Now, if I click on the pill bottle, come on. Okay, there we go. The program just removes the actual remedies from the rubrics. Obviously, they're still there, but it allows you to scroll through the repertory in an unprejudiced manner because you're not seeing what's in the rubrics. I don't do that all that much, but it is there. So if you notice for some reason your remedies disappear, it may be because that button got pressed. Now, the one just next to it, I don't keep turned on, but I want to point out that it's here. That's supposed to be a little medical person or something. And you'll notice now that there are abbreviations next to each one of the remedies, the remedy additions for the rubrics. And those are abbreviations that indicate who made that or where that remedy addition was made or from what reference. For example, and you can look up these abbreviations. Here's one, manganum phosphoricum was added from homeopathy elements from Jan Schulten's work. So again, this little button right here will show you the author sources if you're interested in that information. I usually keep that shut off as well. Now, let's skip the luggage tag for just a moment. Well, I like the tags. I like the tags a lot because, well, let's do something. I'm going to go to one of my favorite rubrics for showing this off. And forgive me, I'm just going to type real quickly to get there, mind, forsaken feeling. Okay, we'll talk about how to get there in just a moment. Okay, now, here's my basic rubric for mind, forsaken feeling, has 192 remedies listed. Here they are. But you'll notice that above the list of all the remedies, we've got what are called synonyms. In other words, this is a hint. You could say, well, let me think about maybe looking up abandoned. Maybe let me look up loneliness, solitude, sensation of solitude. It's kind of grayed out, but you see that those references are there for you. There are also, I'm sorry, those are called synonyms. Okay. These that are all actual hyperlinks are called cross references. And so if I'm not happy with 192 remedies for forsaken feeling, I could say to myself, oh, maybe I'm actually looking for delusions being alone. And watch what happens. If I mouse over delusions alone being, I can double click and I'll go right to that rubric with just 62 remedies. Okay. And I'll notice that I've got a cross reference. I can go back to forsaken feeling just by double clicking here. Okay. So I like having this stuff turned on. especially when I don't know where I am, what I'm looking for. And I believe that that's the tags. If I turn the tags off, all that good info goes away. Okay, here's my plain forsaken feeling, raw, all alone. But if I put my tags in, now I've got some information. Okay, so I will show you how you can set up those tags. And this is something for you to explore on your own. Don't get too excited. Maybe you want to screenshot it. This little settings guy right here. Here's where you find these two right here, expand cross references, expand rubric symptoms. You want to turn those on. Show the repertory in 2 columns. I like that. You don't have to do that. Anyway, you can, screenshot that thing if you want and play around with it yourself. You can even change the background color of your repertory if you want to. I used to do that. It was kind of cool. Let's do it. Let's pick a nice green color. I don't know if that's so nice. Close the settings. That's actually really kind of cool because now if I go to my Materia Medica by clicking the Materia Medica tab, I'm going to know when I'm in the repertory because it's green. Okay. Actually, I kind of find that annoying. I think I'm going to get rid of it. Let's change the background color to Zippo. Did I get rid of it? Oh, thank goodness. Okay. Anyway, so these settings, I don't generally recommend that you mess around too much with the settings, but in your repertory, you are more than likely going to want to make some adjustments there, and just so you're familiar with these buttons. Okay, so let me turn the page on my trusty notes here and see where we're at. Oh, gosh, I still didn't give you everything, did I? Before I move on. How did we find information for a remedy? We went to our remedies icon. We entered the name of the remedy in here or the abbreviation. We went through that whole rigmarole. Here's a better way, or another way, shall I say. Let me take a look here. This is where you find out everything is hyperlinked in this program. So here in my mind, let me get rid of that table of contents. You see how annoying that is when you don't need it? Okay. Look at the remedy natrum silicatum. What if I just want info on nat sil? I can double click and watch what happens. The remedy information window, once again, it's the remedy information window for that remedy opens up right here. I was in the repertory. I said, hey, I need some info here. Iridium metallicum. Let's find out about iridium. Now, the really cool thing, remember, once I'm in these remedy information tab and my triangle on the right shows me everywhere I was. So I could go back and look at iridium. Oh, I would want to look at NatSil, right? I want to do a search for NatSil, do an extraction. Let's just pull out of all the repertories this time. So we're just doing a repertory extraction of natrum silicatum. And yeah, Borky's only got like 4 rubrics. Murphy's got a few more. Schroyen's has got a bucket load. Okay, so see how simple that is? Everything is hyperlinked. Again, I started here in the repertory. I saw somebody I kind of wanted to research. Polystyrene. Isn't that funny? Let's see what polystyrenium says. Let's search for this in all documents. This will be one where you're not going to get a lot of information. But, because I've got these provings and stuff, it's actually in here. This is the polystyrene proving. And it's actually been added to the repertory in 358 rubrics by the synthesis team. Now, there is a new version of the synthesis. I can't wait to get mine. I didn't want to do it right before today and have something glitch out. I've been using the synthesis treasure edition for years now. Yeah, 2009. But there is a new version of the synthesis that's available for purchase upgrade. And personally, I'm excited to check it out because there'll be more information forthcoming, more remedies added, and so on and so forth. Okay, so dare I say I have finished with the basics? I hope so. That's 40 minutes worth of basics. So let me close out my search window. I have to kind of always go back to the basics here. Hide my table of contents. Let's go back to the repertory. And I want to pose a question to you. I want to give you something to think about. The first question I think we can answer within the program. What if I want to just find out information about an individual remedy? We've seen two different ways we can do that. We can either use the big remedies icon and go through that process, or we can double click on the name of the remedy wherever we find it hyperlinked throughout the program. So information on remedies at this point is fairly straightforward. But most of us have this program not just so we can read materia medica, or research, but we want to be able to actually take a look at symptoms, translate patients' symptoms into a symptom within the repertory, and then do what we call a repertorization so that we can actually then narrow down our search for a better remedy for that particular case, right? So we're not just here to read materia medica. Now, so really here's the question for you. If we want to find information on remedies, we're good. We got two different ways to do it. What if we want to find something within the repertory and we have no idea where to look? We've got to have a search function, right? So far, the only search we've seen is how we're going to search for a remedy name. But I want to encourage you to learn how to use the search function. And I teach the advanced search right from the beginning. Because once you've mastered that, you can find anything anywhere. And there's no point in trying to half-step it. So we are going to go to the search function. But before we do that, so I'm going to spend some time showing you how to do searches in the repertory itself. But before we do that, I do want to review for you how you can go, if you know exactly which rubric you want to look at, you don't need to do a search. You can simply, in a few typey steps, you can get there without having to run a search. Okay, now you all saw me go very quickly to this rubric, mind, forsaken feeling. That's because I know exactly the format of the repertory. The rubrics are always going to be laid out by chapter, and then the primary rubric, and possibly a sub-rubric or a sub-sub-rubric. So the process is very simple. And again, you need to know where you're trying to look. If you don't know where you're trying to look, this is kind of a useless exercise. Now, I had here, just a sec. So I made a little case so we could talk about practical things. And yeah, I made a little case so we could talk about practical things. So this is very typical these days. We all probably have seen somebody or have a family member who has had one of these yucky fevers, right? With the congestion and all of that. So this would be a typical case of a child who's sad, weepy, clingy, doesn't want to be left alone, not particularly thirsty with their fever. Everything gets better if they go for a little walk outside. And then mom reports, and when they wake up in the morning, their tongue is coated in white. Yeah. So we can probably all figure out what we would like to give this child, but we're going to use this as an exercise to practice how to move around and how to find things in the repertory. Okay. So I'm going to start with the weepy and weeping. And I'm going to make a big assumption here that all of us who are sitting on this call probably know already in our mind how we would look up the rubric if we just had the book in front of us for weeping or crying. Okay. So we're going to ask ourselves, what chapter is it in? And I've now got my fingers poised over the keyboard and I'm going to go mind. I'm just type the word mind. Oh, no, not over there. Let's make sure I'm actually in the repertory window and not got my cursor in some other place. There we go. let's click. Make sure you click in the window here. And now in the repertory, when I begin typing the name of the chapter, M, oh, I only typed M, and already things have been narrowed down to mind, mouth, male genitalia, and male and female. Okay, so M, I. Okay, now what have we got? The mind chapter is highlighted. You see that? And down here in purple, the little check mark says go to. What that means, I can do all this without my mouse. As soon as I see that the chapter I want is highlighted and that purple button is highlighted, I can hit the enter or return key on my keyboard. So I typed MI, mind is highlighted. I'm going to hit return. And in my navigation window now, I've got an alphabetical listing of all of the rubrics in my mind chapter. So we said we wanted weeping. So I'm going to, again, I have not touched my mouse. I'm going to go W, E, E, weeping. The little hand, there's a little hand here that's pointing to the rubric weeping. The purple light is on, so I can hit return. Now, what have I got? Mind weeping and a whole bunch of subrubrics here, right? I'm going to suggest that after you get to the main rubric here, which would be mind weeping, don't start monkeying around typing for subrubrics. Go ahead and hit the enter key one more time. And what's going to happen is the repertory will jump straight to the rubric that you were typing in. So I've got mind weeping. Okay, and what's really cool, I've also got some cross references here, ailments from grief. So maybe that wasn't quite right. Maybe I really needed ailments from grief. Cool, I could go there. But in this case, this is this weepy, whiny, feverish kid, right? So what I'm going to do is now I'm going to pay attention to my clipboards. This is probably the part you're all like, when is she ever going to get to the rubrics and the clipboards? Right now, I'm going to use my mouse. I'm going to press and hold the button on my mouse and see if I move very slowly, it kind of like picks the whole thing up. I'm going to drag it to the first clipboard up here at the top. When the little green plus comes, I can let go my mouse and I have placed a rubric on a clipboard. Shall we look? I can't wait. Let's look. This is going to open up a new window. Voila. There's the thing you've all been waiting for, is the analysis window, right? Here's our first rubric, mind weeping, 455 remedies. Not particularly helpful, but we'll get there. Okay, let's go back to the repertory again. So we had mind weeping. Is there anything else we want to use for this kiddo? I wonder if we have a subrubric, weeping during fever. I'm just going to scroll. Now I'm scrolling with my mouse. Weaving night, weeping from admonition. This is great. You see how these cross references here can really help you hone in on the exact symptom that you're looking for your patient. Now this is interesting, weeping when alone. That's a bit like this kid. Basically, they're crying. They don't want to be left alone. So if I wanted to, and look, it also gives me a cross-reference, company desire for, or company desire for aggravated when alone. Let's just take this alone when, just to practice. Okay, I pressed on my mouse button and I'm dragging it over. I get the plus and I let go. So now I've got two symptoms on my clipboard. Okay. Let's go back, see what we're up to. Now remember, we did this exercise by typing in the exact rubric because we knew what we wanted. It was mind weeping. We don't always have the luxury of knowing exactly which rubric we're looking for. That's where the search thing is going to come in. But I'm going to sidebar for just a moment. Let's go take a look at this clipboard section over here, because I imagine most of you do not have 12 clipboards like I do. I know that some of the versions of the program will allow you to have 2 clipboards, 3 clipboards. It depends. But here's where that right click comes in. If I take my mouse and point over in this rubric clipboards area and I right click, it gives me some choices here, and I'm going to go all the way down to the bottom. And in this case, I'm going to select fewer clipboards because I have the max, and I can put fewer clipboards. You see how this thing is shrinking now? If you want more clipboards, you're going to right click over here and you're going to say more clipboards. And if your program has the ability, it'll add more clipboards for you. And I like to have as many as I can. It's personal preference, but you may want to fool around with that part. And that is sort of the first of our right click investigations. Okay, so let's go back and take a look at this analysis window. Now, again, I clicked on the clipboard and notice it opened up a new tab here. It's pale blue. It's got the little analysis icon at the top. My rubrics are listed. And I'd like to say in no particular order, the remedies that are included in both rubrics are listed here. I use the setting, and I'll look under the chess piece here, the very first one on the list. I don't recommend you fool around with this until you kind of know what you're doing. Just leave it to sum of symptoms sorted degrees. That means that the first remedies that will appear here are the ones that appear in both of your symptoms, okay? Now, a little note here, if I want to open up a remedy information window from here, I can point to the name of the remedy and double click. And once again, I get a remedy information window from just clicking on the remedy name, okay? Let's go back to our analysis tab, just showing what we've got on clipboard number 1. And yeah, so we have our first symptom here, the weepy, clingy child. Now, what about the no thirst during the fever? Well, this one, I wonder if we know where to look. Let's pretend we have no idea, because for a lot of us, we probably have no idea unless we've done 50,000 of these cases. So here's where the function keys, if you have a function key, it's going to be F5. But if you don't, that's okay. I'm going to have you, G. It's what's so funny is I don't ever use anything but F5, so I can't remember where to do it. Here at the top in the big icon area, where you see that magnifying glass, look, lo and behold, a little arrow. Click the little arrow and go down here and select advanced search. Like I said, don't monkey around with all the rest of that. Just go directly to F5 or advanced search. And voila, this is the window that I want you to consider learning. When you don't know where to go, when you don't know where to find something, this will hopefully get you there. I've got 4 different slots for creating a search. I'm going to start simply by using just this first one, which says search words in English. I am going to put fever, okay? And I'm going to press now I typed that, okay? The word fever came up. I like to do this with no mouse. So I'm not going to mouse over things. I'm just going to hit my return key. It's still not set up yet because it's not bright blue. But if I click the return key again, see what happened? This thing is bright blue. This is purple. And it's offering me a space to put a new search term. I'm going to put thirstless. Now, how did I know it was thirstless? Because I knew that. Done it a couple times. Again, hit the enter key. Still not fully engaged, so I'll hit it one more time. It's now fully engaged. I've got 2 words. What I'm going to be doing is searching for the word fever next to the word thirstless. And where do I want to search? Look up here. This is familiar, isn't it? In this case, I'm just going to search in all open repertories. You know, I really don't need to slay a dragon here. So let's do the search and see what we get. Oh, look at that. In my results of search, looks like Borke's repertory is going to suggest 4 different rubrics for me. And Schroyen's is going to suggest 6 rubrics. Now, what's interesting, you see, if I had thought I knew what I was doing, I probably would have gone to the fever chapter. Let's see what this one is. Fever accompanied by thirstlessness. Let's go there and see what's there. Remember, just double click on, oh my goodness. If I had thought I was so smart and typed my way there, then it would say, well, see, stomach, thirstless, fever during. Okay, good. I'll just double click. There's the rubric that I want. Thirstless during fever, right? Okay, let's just drag that to my clipboard. What I really love about working from the actual repertory is I get to look around and see what else is in the ballpark. And look, I also find a rubric down here that is, notice when I click on the rubric, it tells me the name of what I'm looking at. In this case, the hand is pointing to heat during, but the full rubric is stomach, thirstless, heat during. That's kind of almost the same thing. I kind of almost like this one better because it's a red dot, Kunzli rubric. You know, you can look that up and read about those if you like. So I'm going to drag that over there as well. I probably got too many rubrics now representing that thirstlessness, but that's okay. Let's go back to our results of search again. So you see how we did that? We put in the two words we wanted to find together. We did the search in the open repertories because that's all I'm really interested in are some rubrics. And this is what I got. If I click on Boriki, I could take a rubric from Boriki. And you know what? You can actually add them straight from here. Febrile heat with thirstlessness. Let's just put that on the next clip. Look, I just want to show you, you can add rubrics straight from here. See, I dragged it over to clipboard number 2. Let's look at that. There it is. Now there's our remedy. Okay. So hope that's tracking for people. Yeah, because I got about 10 minutes. I'm just going to poke the chat here for a minute and see what's going on. Okay, you guys want to know about the default clipboards and all that? That's a great question, actually. On my program, it's the Alt or Option key on my keyboard in the lower left. And when I press and hold the Alt or Option key and then click on the keyboard that, or the clipboard I want, it'll move that check mark around. So I think y'all figured that out anyway. And again, I'm trying not to get into too much detail here. We're just dragging and so on and so forth. Okay, so where are we with our case? She's weepy, she's thirstless with the fever, she's better walking outside. Oh my goodness. You know, that's kind of a tough one, maybe, if you don't know where to look. So let's go back to our search thing. Now, I don't like that table of contents. It's bugging me. I'm going to get rid of it. Remember over left-hand corner? Okay, how do I do a new search? This, see this thing right here? This is supposed to be an eraser, like those old pink erasers that were in, I'm showing my age. Double click the eraser and it clears it all out. Let's put outside. Okay, because clearly, let's just say I really know nothing about what I'm doing. It's set to go, search and open repertories only. Let's go for the gusto. Oh, I guess I have to show the table of contents. That's odd. So Schroyen's has got 38 remedies with the word outside. Boy, I better hope I can find what I'm looking for. Fever burning outside. Oh, that's not so good, is it? Yeah. Crummy search, huh? Well, welcome to the real world, because that's definitely not what we wanted. What we really want is like air, right? And fever. If we put air and whoops, fever. Okay, see, you make a mistake and it tells you in red you made a mistake. So I got 2 words. Again, I got to wait till both of them are engaged. They both got the purple check. They both got the blue here, and then I can search in my open repertories. Let's see if air and fever. Oh, that's better. Fever, air, and open ameliorates. Let's look at that one. That's a cute little rubric, isn't it? It's a little small to actually be of much use, but you know, for the purpose of our discussion here, we'll go ahead and grab it. Okay, let's go back to our search. Let's see if there's anything else we like. cold air, desire, fever. I like this. Fever, walking in open air, a male, 9 rubrics, 9 remedies, I'm sorry. Yeah, let's just drag that over there too. This is not a highly recommended repertorization, by the way. It's more an exercise, okay? I would never put that many in one go. But that's not the point of the exercise. Okay, so she's clingy, she's not thirsty, she better walking outside. Oh, and white tongue, especially on waking. You know, if you miss the tongue, you've missed everything in the fever, in my humble opinion. So you always want to look at tongue and perspiration and those kinds of things. Now, do we know where to look for the discoloration of the tongue? I'm going to walk you through it in a typing. If you didn't know, well, there are 2 ways to do it. We could put tongue, what is it, white? Yeah. Oh my goodness. Well, that's not very helpful, is it? Schroyen's has got 355 rubrics. Ugh, do I really want to scroll through all of that? Might as well. Mouth discoloration. Okay, so here, this is what this is telling me is, if I want to find the tongue symptoms, I need to go to the mouth chapter and then look up discoloration, tongue. And lo and behold, mouth discoloration, tongue white. Oh, look, here it is, mouth discoloration, tongue white in the morning. That's what Mom said. It's worse in the morning. Let's look. There it is. Oh, hot stuff, huh? Let's put it up here. Okay. I could also, this is what I wanted to show. I just wanted to show how I would do this by typing. Once again, because I know the chapter, it's going to be mouth. So I'll start typing M-O-U. Now, as soon as mouth is highlighted and the button is in purple, again, I'm not using my mouse. Notice, no mouse. Hit enter. Now, what's the next subrubric is discoloration. Discoloration, as soon as the hand is pointing to what I want, I will go enter. And now I've got to get tongue. So I'm going to go T up. Okay. The hand is pointing to the word tongue. This is in purple. All I got to do is hit enter. Now, from here, I could put in white, or I could simply, and this is what I recommend you do, once you get to this level, just hit enter one more time and dive right into the repertory. So you can scroll through and find what you're looking for. And you're going to discover things like, who knew there was a blue tongue? Okay, blue versus bluish. As you scroll through here, you're going to learn some things and you're going to learn your repertory. So never skip the opportunity unless you really are in a hurry to do some exploration within your repertory. Okay, so now I'm scrolling and scrolling and I'm still not getting there, and I'm a little annoyed, right? Because I wanted mouth discoloration, tongue white, and I'm only on brown. So if I hit the delete or the backspace key in the upper right hand corner, that window will open up again. That little navigation window, and I'm going to go back and I'm going to start erasing some of this. So see where it says yellowish brown, get rid of that, get rid of brown. Now let's type in white. Hit enter. Mouth discoloration, tongue white. And look at all the subrubrics for white. Ay, ay, ay. But at least that's getting us closer. Okay. So hopefully that little exercise got us somewhere. Let us have a look at our case, shall we call it? Okay, so I'm just going to go to my clipboard where I put everything, and no surprise here that this was what I would have thought. This was my little pulsatilla case for you, right? Notice if I want to see the whole rubric, I can kind of slide this divider thing over. So pulsatilla appears in all the rubrics. Now, could this be a phosphorus case? Yeah. You know, could it be a lycopodium case? Yeah. This was a made up. And because lycopodium covers 5 out of the 7 symptoms. And lycopodium, I'm sure, has a white tongue, although perhaps does not in the morning. You see what I'm saying? The fever is kind of a giveaway. Now, remember we put a rubric on this clipboard as well? What if I want to look at all of my clipboards? I very often will use multiple clipboards to do a case. So I'll put all the mentals on one, and then, the fever symptoms on another, and some other physicals on another, because I may want to look at them in various combination. But when you use the F8 key on your keyboard, which I have marked with a Sharpie, it's going to open up all of the clipboards that I have that are populated, shall we say. Okay, so the F8 is going to give me all of them. If I decide I don't want to see this clipboard number 2, I can close it with an X. I can bring it back by holding down the Command key on my Mac and then clicking it, and it'll come back. So it's a toggle on, toggle off situation. I can also toggle off clipboard number 1 and toggle it back on. I encourage you to play around with this function a little bit. And anytime we want to go back into the repertory, these rubric names are all live. These are all hot. I can double click on them, and I'm going to jump back into the repertory to that exact spot. Yeah. Okay. Now, the last piece that I want to leave you with here, let me just make sure I didn't. Yeah, I think we're good. Where do I save it? What do I do with it? I've done all this work to work up my case. Here's the right click again. There are lots of ways to manage patients within your program. I have a very simple methodology that I use. And for me, simple is always best. Okay. So once I've got my case worked up, remember the right click, I can point to any clipboard. It doesn't even have to have something on it. And when I right click, I've got an option right here at the very beginning that says Save Analysis. Now, I think that's what I want to do. Yeah. Now, when this Save Analysis window comes up, you've actually got 4 choices here. The first one says Save Current Analysis to, no. Skip the first one. Save current analysis to a new patient. Anytime it says patient, don't do it. Save current analysis to a folder. Okay, I'm going to put this as demo. What's today? RO 6/29/22. Okay, and I'm going to put this was a pulsatile case. Okay, and I'm going to, now that I've got my info entered, I'm going to save. Just like a so. Okay. What's not to love? Okay. So I want to do a new case. I'm all done with little pulsatilla girl. She's all getting better. How do I clear this out and start over? Again, I can right click and I'm going to clear all clipboards, reset names, and set current as default. Boom. Done. Voila. All cleaned up. Now, came back the next day. Mom says, well, she's not really better yet. Have another look, would you please? I want to recall the case. I'm going to right click and this silly thing. There we go. Recall analysis. I'm going to go right back to the same place and I'm going to type, search for any part of the name. 6/29. Yeah, there it is. It's this one. See, there's the name, demo RO, pulsatilla, recall. And voila, it's back. Okay. Wow. That is what I have for you. And don't all queue up at once. I'm going to go to your questions and I would encourage you, okay. The reason I do not save to a patient is because there are too many options while saving to a patient. And I find that interface in the program somewhat difficult to maneuver and even more difficult to try and explain to someone else. So I have found over the years that by saving them in a folder, And I have a particular way in which I name my cases, which includes the patient first and last name and the date that I did the analysis. And then in the notes, I will put my remedy thoughts or working, if it's just I'm doing a workup. And I have found that that is the easiest way for me to get back to my cases. Any patient data, dates of birth, number of consults, all that sort of thing, I don't keep in my RadarOpus program. That's just me. Yeah. Can you delete an analysis you've saved? I'm not sure about that. I wouldn't be able to answer that really, really quickly. It saves. Okay, when you save the case like I did, Vicki, it saves within RadarOpus. Then when you back up your RadarOpus, obviously it'll be backed up in there. But that's another reason why I don't want to put too much patient data inside my RadarOpus program. I take my cases and all my case notes are in, for me, it's Pages because I'm on a Mac, but it could be Microsoft Word, it could be a Google Doc. That's where I have my main patient notes. And then I will take those notes and do my workup within the program. Yeah, if that makes sense. Okay, I'm just going to yeah, what happens when you save to a patient? You get lost and you can't ever find it again. Okay, are there other questions that, oh, somebody said, Lynn said, didn't get a check mark when you move the rubric over. Yeah, that's kind of a tricky one. I don't usually pay attention. After a few times, you'll find that it either goes in there or it doesn't, and you have to kind of hover over the clipboard. Oh, Marci, my table of contents window and clipboard are one below the other. That's odd. Boy, some of these are great questions because I don't know. Anna, did you get your question answered about how do we get cross-referencing in again? I'm going to go to that. I want to that's something I'd like to review. Okay, so I'm in my repertory, which is where the cross references are, right? And let's go. Oh, here's an example. Here's a sample rubric: anger after, fever, anger after. And I've got some cross references. Now, how do I turn the cross references off and on? It's by this luggage tag. When I click hide the tags, they go away. When I click show the tags, hello? Yeah, they come back. Now, different tag. So I agreed to, this thing has now agreed to show whatever I wanted it to show as a tag. To designate the tags, you got to go into the settings thingy and pick off stuff that you want. Play around with this. These are my settings. Okay. Hope that answered your question. Let's see about another little question here. Oh, you're welcome. Oh, what do the different colors mean? Brenda, what a great question. How could I skip that? So if you have a paper repertory, this is what's called grading of a remedy within a rubric. And we have normally 3 or 4 grades, depending on the rubric. I'm going to go back to my favorite, mind forsaken feeling. And I'm going to show you a way to do that. I normally discourage the use of the back and forward buttons up here at the top, because sometimes you use them and you don't get what you wanted, and then you're so disappointed. So that's why I try not to. I like you to be pleased with what we've done. So, but if I click back, what this is going to do is walk me back through the rubrics I was looking at. You see there, I'm walking back through my process of being lost, looking for the colored tongue. There's the thirstlessness during fever. Oh, it even walked me back through my search. Mind weeping, we're getting closer. I wanted to walk back. There's the forsaken feeling. So we're going to talk about grades for like 2 seconds. I see there are more questions. Why I thought there was a grade 4. Oh, maybe it's in ailments from grief. Certainly there's a grade 4 in ailments from grief. Yeah. Okay, good. So the grading of the remedies, first of all, and the corresponds to the colors or the typeface or underlining, all bold. First of all, pay no attention to the grading. If the remedy is in there, that's good enough. That would be the bottom line for you. Okay, it's either there or it's not. Beyond that, if it is in a grade other than a 1, a grade 1 means, yeah, I made the cut. Aconite made the cut for grief. Illumina made the cut. Laurocerasus made the cut for ailments from grief, all in just a grade 1. In other words, there was some of it either in approving, usually in approving, or some of the original old literature. Yeah. Then if we have, the grading will be determined by the author of the repertory. The second grade would be the italics, and this would be a grade 2. A grade 3 would be the all caps, and then a grade 4 would be the all caps, bold, also underlined. Let's take a look at this rubric on a clipboard, okay? Now, you'll notice that we have the colors here that correspond to the various grades. You may or may not, yours may or may not look like this. I think this is the way that I've set mine up, but Ignatia and Nature Muir, you'll notice in the rubric, are the 2 that are in grade 4. On our clipboard, they both show a grade 4 here in the degrees, if you will. And then the remedies that are in red bold are all the ones here that are in a grade 3. Now, again, especially at the beginning, you don't need to pay a whole lot of attention to the grade. Okay, that's about the simplest I can make it, but that's what the colors mean. Oh, somebody typed into Q&A. This will be fun. I'm going to click that. Can you look at the repertory rubrics on one page instead of the view being split into 2 pages side by side? Wendy, I don't understand. Oh, you said the repertory. Yes. Okay. Yeah. If you don't like this 2-column setup on your repertory, you're going to go to your repertory. You're going to click the settings gear over here, and you're going to uncheck the box that says show repertory in 2 columns. Okay, there you go. Hopefully that's more to your liking. I find it's too much making my head go back and forth. So I'm going to leave it this way, but you're welcome to set it up to suit your fancy. Okay. Oh, another Q&A. Yeah. Okay, good. Perfect. That's what I like to hear. At least that was a simple one. Okay. Okay. So where do we find easily where to find a question we have, like when working in the repertory, like what does light bulb or V icons mean? I think in the help, you can probably find, I think you can find that. Yeah, I wonder if you right click. Let's look at this light bulb and right click, copy, translate. No. V is veterinary. Okay, just FYI, that means that's what a veterinary symptom. Now, why are some of these V's green and some of them blue? Wow, I could be really wrong. Let's double click on the V and see what happens. Oh, that's useless. How about this? Equally useless. Oh, that's a note. There's another rubric with veterinary remedy. So what I'm doing is I'm left clicking. Oh, if you have concepts, the light bulb is going to give you the associated concepts. Here is where you can go down multiple rabbit holes. Be my guest. So let's say, look, these are all hyperlinked too. Look, if I go to physiology, eating meals, then, oh my goodness, associated rubrics. Look at this. We are lost in space. Have to do that for another time. Yeah. Before we wrap up, I want to do something, which is go back to that keynote thing that I had. And I'm going to paste this I want to paste this text into the something or another. I think chat would be good, huh? So that you have some links for how to do various things, like the RadarOpus North America homepage, contact them or to get support for your program, meaning, key stopped working, that kind of support. The training videos are located here on this page. It says RadarOpus Academy, all. Within that page, I actually have a set of 3 videos called Getting Started. And basically those Getting Started videos walk you through everything that we've just done here. And I put the direct links to them here because if you just go to this page, I think the first one is like in Russian or something. So you could go to these or, just click around. There are tons of videos. And clearly, if you wanted to get a hold of me for some reason, I have this website. And from there, actually, it sends you to my homeopathy website. But I do like, trainings for individuals, small groups, really small groups. And we have some kind of a discount thing or a special price for radar owners. So you can check that out on their website. Let's see a couple more. Oh, that's just Wendy. Are there any more burning questions? Oh, yeah, Lynn, that's a good point. If they're getting started with and without sound, you'd have to talk to the training support people about how they're tagging those videos for you. Oh, how can you? Oh, here's a great one, Anna. Didn't see the links on chat. Well, let me do it again. Let's do it again. There you go. How do you move a rubric from one clipboard to another? Where's my program? There we go. Okay, let's just do it. Now, how do I see all my clipboards? I can either use the shortcut F8 key, or I can also, up here, there's a big icon called analysis. And in the drop down, I'm going to do show current analysis, symptoms and remedies, F8. Okay, now say I wanted to take this one, weeping, and move it somewhere else. I'm going to highlight it. I'm going to press and hold my mouse key and drag it somewhere else and then let go. Okay, now, oh, it's not showing, is it? Clipboard 1, clipboard 2, clipboard 3 is not showing. Easiest way to get it is to just press F8 again. That's why I told you, get those function keys going and you will be ever so thankful. The F5 key, anyone, F5 is your, oh my gosh. Okay, bonus. I forgot to show you something super, super cool. Let's erase. Let's search a remedy. Pulsatilla, remember? Put in the abbreviation that I like. And let's put fever. Okay, we had that kid with a fever, right? Search and open, so let's search in all documents. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to look up every reference for the remedy pulsatilla and her fevers. Yeah, look at that, Boriki. Here are pulsatilla's fevers. My gosh, how could I have skipped? This is the best part. I hope some of you stuck around. Okay, that's why I like the advanced search. Okay, and there are some other things to be uncovered if you go ahead and watch some of those other videos. I'm going to go to chat one more time. I'm going to see what else I can do for you guys. Thanks. Can saved cases be altered by adding or subtracting rubrics? You know what you do? You bring the case back in, add some new stuff, and then you resave it. Either resave it with a new name or save it with the same name. How are there no links in chat yet? That's so, oh, you know what? Because it's only going, ay. Okay, I'm so sorry. I was sending it to the hosts. Thank you guys for persisting. Is that better? Yeah, I was sending it to the host. Ah. Okay, I'm glad we got the links. Yeah. What else? How do we set up the F keys? You know, on the mouse, on the Mac, I can show you on my Mac laptop here real quick, and I apologize to you Windows users. it's going to be on your keyboard. So I'm in my system preferences on my Mac, and I'm going to set up down here where it says press function keys. What does it say to do nothing? Yeah, use F1, F2. Those are the function keys as standard function keys. Check that box. Okay. Yours may look a little different depending on your operating system, but that's where that is. And by the same token, your right-click mouse, and or if you don't have a mouse, if it's the trackpad, you're going to go to your trackpad preferences and you're going to set up secondary click in bottom. This is the one I use. Secondary click in bottom right-hand corner. Click, tap to click will give you a right click on your trackpad. Okay. Yeah. Let us see. Okay. Yeah, it's like end of the day. I'm sorry that the links are not so useful from the chat. I don't know. I don't have access to everyone's email, but I will send them to the admin people who I believe are going to be sending out an email with the link to the recording. So I'll do that when we get off. I'll send them over to admin so that hopefully they can supply those to you. Any other final questions? I just want to say thanks. This was like super fun. And I hope you guys all have a great time with your program. I just can't say, you know, this thing goes every day, all day I'm in here. And love to see some of you, you know, again online. Okay. Thank you so very, very much. And yeah, wishing you all the best of health, happiness, and all that good stuff. Okay. Bye for now, everybody. I'm going to stop my share. And yeah, thanks again. Be well.